use of funds in recent years has to provide funds to both for-profit and non-profit affordable housing developers to acquire and renovate or develop homeowners who have been housing. And that can be single family, multifamily, any type of eligible housing. We can also dedicate some of those funds for housing for special needs, homeless, development. The city can also use funds here for housing rehabilitation. The difference compared to CDBG is that whole funds when you use them for housing rehab must bring the entire house up. Whereas the CDBG emergency repairs or health and safety under the home programs. And there's two forms of funding. Ones allow for providing direct subsidies, which not required form of down payment assistance. And funds can be used for short-term rental assistance, commonly referred to as based rental assistance. And those funds can be used for up to 80 The third program at the bottom of the screen is funds. And I should also point out that this funds for housing opportunities for persons with needs, commonly referred to as HOPWA. But this program, city administrative program, a larger agency, multiple counties here in Inland, the city administers this program. Again, the other two are specific to boundaries and limits of residence area. For HOPWA, it will serve a larger So here, funds are most likely to be used to provide rental assistance for households where at least one individual We can use the funds to develop and rehabilitate housing Likewise, we can use the funds to operate and maintain special housing facilities for But most likely and most often, the funds are used for short-term rent or utility assistance, as well as associated support services, in case management, health insurance, households, and even ultimately prevent homelessness and stabilize their houses. So on the screen to your right, you can see the annual allocation of funds. Notice that we are still showing more funds. The federal government has not yet completed the specific allocations for 2025. They are expecting those within the next 2 weeks. That being said, the funds are at the federal level allocated or budgeted at the exact same level as 2024. So we're expecting, if not exactly, very close to the same amount in 2024. So you can see for CDBG, 1.1 million, home just over 700,000. Those are the two city-specific programs. And then the HOPWA program, again, serves a larger jurisdiction, a larger service area, just about 1.9 million. So as I transition more to specifics about this existing consolidated plan and annual action plan, I just want to highlight we have 5 major components to this plan. The whole plan is available for public comment. Just want to get some of the highlights this evening. We encourage you to access that. The plan is available for public comment on the city's website. So we have the needs assessment and the housing market analysis. And this is my The needs assessment looks at the population, assess the needs of our moderate income family. And then the housing market analysis, as the title looks at the housing stock Then every year associated with that five-year consolidated plan, the city will prepare a specific budget for use funds allocated that year. And that budget is approved and finally, the fifth section of the consolidated plan, rounding out stakeholder organizations. And then, as I mentioned, we're currently in the 30-day public comment period. And we've got our public hearings tonight. So, as we develop the consolidated plan, my team prepared that needs assessment and market analysis with feedback from the community and stakeholders, and of course, staff and city council members provided their inputs, developed these proposed goals and pipelines. Once we were had a little bit more definitive budget, again, we don't have the final allocations, but we at least know that it's of the goals, and so the administration funding we use for each grant will address the goal of effective program management. And so that's sort of a requirement to have that last goal for HUD so that our budget aligns with all of our goals. So using the 2024 allocation as a baseline and an expected budget, I'm going to go through our project funding. This will be updated here in a couple of weeks once we have the final allocations specific to 2025. So this is still just an estimate, but should be a fairly close estimate given level funding. So in CDBG, admin and planning will represent roughly 20% of our grant. The city does have $600,000 of program income, which is revenue generated from previous programs. So that's why you see a total budget here of $1.7 million, as opposed to just that $1.1 million of entitlement funds or new grants. The public service categories, 15%, equates to about $166,000. Public facilities and infrastructure for $276,000. And then the bulk of our programming going to the highest priority housing programs. And that looks like housing rehab, code enforcement, slum and blight removal, as well as purchase assistance. And specifically $100,000 allocated there to the code enforcement activity. Under the home program, we could take up to 10% of that grant for administration. Again, here, the city also receives substantial revenues from previous projects. So we are anticipating, again, another $600,000 in home program income. We are required to set aside 15% of our annual allocation each year for nonprofit housing developers. HUD refers to them as CHODOs, which stands for Community Housing Development Organizations. So we've allocated at least that 15% for them. And then the bulk of our funds are available for affordable housing development programs that the city issues a variety of RFPs throughout the year as funds are available for, again, both nonprofit and for-profit developers to apply for those funds. And then the HOPWA program, again, this is our largest allocation, but we are serving multiple counties here with these funds. So we take a small portion for administration, and then we allocate the funds to the following organizations you can see on the screen here. For Columbia Housing Authority, $693,000. Resource ID, this is a service that we utilize to help manage the program. That's $11,720. Midlands Housing Alliance for $25,000. Palmetto AIDS Life Support Services for $335,000. The Cooperative Ministry, $220,000. The University of South Carolina Department of Medicine, $530,000. And finally, Upper Savannah Care Services for another $25,000. So just a reminder, we're in our public comment period. You can see on the bottom right-hand side our address should you like to mail in comment or call. You can access the full comment or full consolidated plan draft at the community development website listed on the bottom right. It will be in public comment through May 18th, and we'll have one final public hearing on May 13th with council. We'll make any final adjustments following that public hearing and council's endorsement, and then we'll quickly submit to HUD thereafter. Ideally, we're submitting to HUD in the middle of May, but our drop dead date is August 15th. So we must submit to meet these requirements no later than August 15th. And with that, I'll stop the share. I'm happy to answer any questions or take community feedback.
Mr. Eric, I have a question. All this work, there we go.
Make sure I get the mic for you. So I want to make sure you hear you.
How you doing, Mr. Eric? This is Wanda Cannon. Quick question. You went through all of that, but what I did not see was nobody never had plans for seniors. Seniors are always left out. You're doing families, everybody's doing families with kids, and seniors are coming up more and more. What we call baby boomers? Is that the word for it? Yeah. I mean, a lot of seniors, we living in cramped up little one bedroom apartments, and everything is being built is surrounded by either the college kids or the families with kids. And the neighborhoods are not being catered to the seniors. We need to do something about that.
Thank you, ma'am, for your feedback. I do believe in perhaps, I heard Felicia in the room, she might be able to address more specifically, but several of the housing rehab programs are utilized overwhelmingly by seniors to help make home improvements, health and safety improvements, accessibility improvements as well. And a variety of our senior programs or public service programs can be geared towards seniors. And then oftentimes public facilities like senior centers and other recreation centers utilized by seniors might be addressed as well from time to time.
Yeah, so Eric is correct. We rolled out the SHINE program back in July 23 is when it was. And at that time, I think we collected 150 applications. And so it was a lot of applications that we received. Because it's so great in terms of home repairs and things of that nature. So what we actually end up doing is prioritizing those applications that we did receive to assist seniors and elderly. And so those are the ones that we have been focusing on and completing projects on to help rehab their houses.
We're not just talking about homes, we're talking about apartments too also. There's not, I mean, even though they're,
Rental units,
ma'am,
we're talking about rental units,
yes.
yeah, low income housing,
Yeah, I mean, they
for
was putting
seniors.
them in different areas where nobody really wants to go. They building them, I know they just built one on Forest Drive, now they're back up behind DSS and all that. Now we're on North Main. Some people don't want to live out there. There's other places you can have land to put them in, you know, somebody want to live in a nice neighborhood. And this is not happening. You're building up more apartments around here, but they are not. If you put them in there, they got the HUD thing on them. We ought to be able to have these apartments accessible to us. But we don't get them. That's not right.
I hear every word
And
you
most
say.
cities want to be close to the supermarket. Yeah, bus line, I mean, buses are coming through too, but also, yeah, like supermarkets, so they can get their groceries. Some don't have cars and so forth, but, yeah.
So I know the city is in communication now with some various organizations or businesses, I would say, in regards to the grocery stores. I know there's a huge need for an additional grocery store, particularly in the downtown area. I think we're very close in solidifying a particular deal for an additional grocery store. But that's pretty much all I can say about it. Okay. In terms of senior housing, there's a huge need for senior housing here in low income. We have, I've been in communication with an organization now, a developer right now, that is developing some senior housing, Rockford Greystone. There's some others that's being planned, and they're trying to solidify funding. In terms of, of course, you know, the various locations, all about land, you know, where they were able to get land at a somewhat reasonable cost so that they can solidify all the funding. So again, to ensure your cash flows. Because it's all about, you know, how to make it work.
Okay, but do you have it, I mean, is there anything like the housing out in the Lower Richmond area that's coming up between Lower Richmond Boulevard and coming back up to, what's the name of it? I can't think of it.
On the southeast side, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Nice spares.
and where the park is, yeah, so you're building up, not southeast, no, it's different, no.
I know the last community that was instructed, built over there off of, Atlas Road. Near Byway, that's the last senior development that I'm aware of.
They wasn't, that was so much, it was, people couldn't afford that. And that was the sad part about that. You know, I even checked into it, and they wanted, I mean, like $900 now. Yeah, and, you know, and I love Homes of Hope, but Homes of Hope is not dedicated to any seniors that are even on a low income basis. And they don't, I don't mind having seniors in some of these places, but I want the property to be well taken care of. Because we build it up nice, but we need to move people in that are gonna take care of the property.
I would recommend for anyone that's actually seeking senior housing to reach out to TN Development Corporation. I know they have a few units that are actually vacant.
Who is
Right now?
TE?
TN Development Corporation,
And who is that?
Harrison Joseph, you're a city employee, right?
Yes.
You can type in his name, he's the city.
What's his name?
Harrison Joseph. Harrison Joseph. He got two first names, Harrison Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at, because, you know, over in the Rosewood area, they just still, I mean, it came up fine, just to put some apartments there. Oh, wow. Student living, and I'm like, really?
I have this birdie back there, but she don't want me to call her out though, in terms of Miranda. You know, there be vacancies there, it's a senior community as well. Okay.
They want to put no, Rosewood.
North Main is growing, it's growing and
Okay,
improving,
the
but,
other two just burned up, like, hey, we put a building there. But I'm, yes, there's probably, I mean, some of, I have a lot of seniors that live on this side, of town. They don't want to move. There's nothing, I mean, everything is coming up over there, get some houses where they can live a little peaceful, and so we'll have a little yard, they can go out there, but nobody's thinking about the that side.
that is mine,
Yeah.
for sure. One more question, Eric, yes, ma'am.
Hello, Eric. My name's Caroline Cedar. I'm from USC School of Medicine, Support Housing Services. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you. Thank you and your attendance.
Yes, so I just have a question, clarification in the PowerPoint. It looks like the 2025 action plan project, like the allocation, the estimate right now for our agency is 530,480. The letter we received on April 28th stated an estimate of 348,939. So I just had some comments regarding that, and I don't know if it's appropriate for me to say it in this setting, or I can email you kind of what I was thinking, but just, you know, why we are in need of funding and just different things that we have succeeded in this year as far as preventing homelessness and getting people into stable housing.
Thank you for your comments. We're happy for you to provide any details you'd like about the programs and your outcomes, but I think Felicia and her staff could address the discrepancy in the funding amount.
Okay. Should I go ahead? I have something prepared about our program. Go ahead. Okay. So my name is Caroline Cedar. I'm representing USC School of Medicine, which serves individuals affected by HIV and housing insecurity across Columbia. First, I would like to express our gratitude for continued partnership and support we've received through the HOPPER program, funding that has enabled us to help hundreds of residents secure housing, maintain care, and work towards viral suppression. Today, I want to speak directly to the potential impact of the recommended reduction to our HOPPA allocation from 530,000 to 348,939. While we understand this is not a final decision and remains under consideration, we respectfully ask the city to reconsider this recommendation and allocate a greater share of the remaining balance to our agency so we can continue delivering essential services, such as permanent housing placement, short-term rental, mortgage and utility assistance, and supportive services. Columbia, like many cities in the Southeast, continues to face deep challenges when it comes to HIV, poverty, and housing insecurity. As you know, the South bears the highest burden of HIV in the nation, and South Carolina ranks among top 10 states in new HIV diagnoses. Within this context, housing isn't just a basic need, but a medical necessity. National and local data show that people living with HIV who are stably housed are significantly more likely to adhere to treatment, medical appointments, and viral suppression, and unstable housing, on the other hand, is a barrier to every one of those outcomes. In the past year alone, supportive housing services has prevented homelessness for over 70 households through STRMU assistance, utilizing a total of $103,000 of our funding dollars towards assistance. We've helped over 40 clients transition from shelter to or unstable conditions to permanent housing through BHP and our Housing First program, utilizing over $50,000 of our funding towards assistance in deposit, rental, and moving assistance. We've engaged 50 clients in mental health counseling and substance use support. We've engaged 400 clients through street outreach and walk-in hours. We worked in partnership with the Columbia Housing to provide ongoing support for 75 clients who are stably housed with HOPWA housing choice vouchers, public housing HOPWA, and HOPWA housing first units. We have also provided critical case management, transportation, behavioral health referrals to hundreds of clients through our supportive services. It is important to note that the majority of our clients are served through the Bristol Health Immunology Center, which has a 91% viral suppression rate, thanks in part to the supportive services offered. We understand that funding decisions are never easy. That's why today we are urging the City of Columbia to take a look and increase the funding recommendation for the University of South Carolina School of Medicine. The fight to end HIV in Columbia cannot be won without stable housing and consistent care, and we stand to continue to do the work if given the resources to do so. And thank you for that consideration.
Thank you so much. Any further questions?
Ms. Seaver, question for you. I would like to know, is there any way we could come around and see if we could come out and just visit? I know it would be a HIPAA violation. You know, just come out and take a tour and see what's going on with the residents in the USC program there and, you know.
Yes, we don't have actual residents in our office or
Right.
around, but definitely we come to our office, we can set up a time to come in and talk about our other programs as well, because we have a Housing First program as well that's really intricate and has a lot of different moving parts, and I would definitely love to have anybody come over and talk through that and just give them. They live throughout Columbia, different apartments, they're scattered site, it just depends on what program they're in with us, so.
They also live in, we have a 6-county area, and the City of Columbia, HOPWA funds. We have, our HOPWA funds through the City of Columbia serve 6 counties, including City of Columbia. And, so that's why, Eric was talking about, the amount of funds that we get, which is larger than most of the other grant funds because we serve a larger area. And, we do serve the City of Columbia as well as the other 6 jurisdictions in the state.
And it live in very area. So my name's Ashley with Columbia Housing. So we are Richmond County, City of Columbia, but we're like you said, scattered sites. So I have some on Raw River, I got some on Rosewood, I have some off of Woodbury, one of Commissary actually. So they are in different areas. Most of them are more so in the city than out of the city, but that's my choice. A lot of people don't want to go down to the southeast side of Columbia. And Northeast doesn't have like the full communities for our people, so they're kind of like the central area. So they're different places. We don't really have them in one particular mobility.
All right. Seeing
Yeah.
and knowing, I would like to know, funds that they're going out, I'm gonna make sure that these people are getting what they get and how they're living and so forth. But, some people can be living in the areas.
They pulled that right out and now they came out this year. And they So they're keeping an eye on us, and we are required to do flood inspections. So that's a third party that's not Columbia Housing, that's somebody who don't work with us. They have to come out and actually see the conditions that they're in. We don't meet flood standards, then we bring up, so they take it out of our hands every year.
So it's a later question. So the Shine program, like champion, which program is that fall under? Right, and so with that being said, when I look into the 2025 action plan, which one of these actually would help prepare folks home?
Housing programs.
Let me ask you something. Are you affiliated with the Central Midlands, you know, they do the whole, I got it right, I don't care what's the new one, Central Midlands,
Homeless Coalition,
yeah, I think so, yes.
or the Continuum of Care.
Yeah.
He went to Mark. I think so.
That's through the Midland Area Consortium.
Okay, and who is this another one that they built the homes and they help them out?
Okay.
That's what I'm asking, do they do anything also?
We are not, partnered. To my knowledge,
They don't partner?
we're not partnered with
Oh,
Habitat. Yeah, no. To my knowledge, they didn't. To my knowledge, we're not partnered with Habitat. So,
No,
yeah.
but we can refer folks.
Yes, we can make it.
Oh, okay, that would be so nice.
And we also make referrals to homework.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
in terms of housing, rehabilitation, repair, that sort of thing. So, but our funds are not allocated to those particular.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are more questions. I think I want to go back. To the question that Carolyn asked about the funding. What you see in your PowerPoint, those funds were based on 24, which is the current year. So that's what's been allocated in 24. The information that each of the subrecipients receive is based on the recommendations for 25 that the Citizens Advisory Committee has made to this point. Now, we have no allocation, as Eric mentioned, at this point, but these are the recommendations that are being made. And so I wanted to clear that up because what you see, it says 25, but it's based on the estimate for 24, which is
Will there be something released that specifies like what you're currently recommending and the list? Is there a way that we can see a list of what you're currently recommending to agencies and how that's laid out?
yes, that information, the CAC has made their recommendation, so that is public information. And yes, we'll make sure that all of you are able to get that.
Good question. In the 2025, the 2025 action plan project, can you give me an example of each of these? Right, so admin and planning, what is that? Give me an example of that. An example of services. I don't know.
Certainly. So for admin and planning, part of that is staff salary. We are allowed 20% of our annual allocation for planning, monitoring, oversight, and salaries. And so that's what you'll see, 20%. And that's the first one. For public services, information that is going out, that would be like, right now, we're currently funding Mercy for mental health services, under Fast Forward. So any type of service that is not brick and mortar, it would be those types of activities. That would be your parks. We currently are funding Hyatt and Randall Hyatt Park, right now, we're funding, as well as Drew Wellness Center. We're upgrading some of the bathrooms in Drew Wellness, so those are infrastructure. And it could be sidewalks and things that Eric mentioned earlier.
When the housing program started showing.
Right, that's rehab and also our housing loan program.
And then, code enforcement.
Code enforcement is just that, would be the demolition of homes throughout the neighborhoods that qualify, that are abandoned, that the city has identified. Code enforcement. Are there any more comments or questions? Eric, do you have any last input that you would like to leave with us?
Well, I thank you all for your attendance this evening and allowing me to present virtually here with you. Thank you for your comments and your questions. And again, I want to remind you the public comment period is still open. So we would welcome your review of the full plan and comment that way, whether you submit via mail-in or email or even phone call in to share your thoughts about the full plan. We'd welcome your input. Thank you.
And thank you all for attending, and our public hearing is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Eric.
So you're pushing us to actually go online and do survey.com online. And everything is that thing. That means we're supposed to do that thing. I can put it there. Okay.